Everyone, Funny TCG here with a new video, and in today's video I want to showcase the deck list I brought to the Store Treasure Cup last weekend. And of course I brought my favorite leader, my main deck, Belo Betty, and as a matter of fact I actually won with Belo Betty, and I won this beautiful Charlotte Pudding prize card from OP08. And yeah, as I said, today I want to showcase the deck list I played, give some short explanations, and afterwards we will get into the sim, play the deck for a few games so we can see how it actually works out. So, quick reminder, Belo Betty, activate main once per turn. We can trash one Revolutionary Army character from our hand and give up to 3 Revo type or trigger cards plus 3000 power for the turn. So absolute aggro deck, and we will see this in the deck list as well, although I specifically tagged into a more control-y version, as you will see with some choices. First of all, of course, we have the Belo Betty Searcher, 1 cost, 2k power. With the lead effect we can bring her up to 5000 power. It's the card we want to have in our opening hand because it applies early pressure, it replaces itself, because Betty tends to run low on hand cards very soon, and therefore this is the optimal card to have in your opening hand. Next up we have 3 copies of Race Max, another Revo Army card with 1 cost, 2000 power. Activate main, put him under a deck and give up to 1 character from our opponent minus 3000 power. As well as the Searcher, this can be a hard hitter, because with our leader effect it goes up to 5k straight, but it also helps us to control the opponent's board in combination with 2 cost Kuma and the 4 cost Lindbergh. I currently run him on 3 because he's a brick, he has no counter, but I still think it's a very important card, which brings me to my first tech choice, which is Charlotte Poiré from OP08. Another 1 cost card with 2000 power and a trigger. The trigger treasure card, play this, then draw a card. Nice to cycle cards out of your hand. And in combination with Race Max and Searcher, we have a total of 10 1 cost cards. So it happens very, very rarely that we don't see any 1 cost characters. So we will almost every time have a card for opening, and this will help us to maximize the pressure. Next up is the most important 2k of the deck. It's OP05, 2 cost Koala. 3000 power. On play, give one of your opponent's characters minus 3000 power for the turn. This also goes very well with the Kuma and the Lindbergh, but sometimes if you actually don't see any of these cards, it can be helpful to play this flat even without any follow-up, because you need the bodies, you need to apply pressure, and of course it's a 2k. So basically this is one of the backbones of our deck, especially if the matchup could get a bit grindy against Bonnie, against Usopp. This card can be very good to minimize the power of blockers. And the main purpose, as I said, is to play it with this 2-cost Kuma. On play, KO one character with 2000 power or less. This goes very well. We can basically on our 4-don turn KO 5-cost body, 5k body with these two cards. And sometimes we should prefer this play over the 4-cost Ivankov. Generally, Betty wants to go second, play ideally 2 1-drops, next turn 4-cost Ivankov, leader effect, play something out of the Ivankov to swarm the board. But in some instances it's smarter to play Koala into Kuma on 4-don, especially in the Lucci matchup. If he plays the Brook on 3, we can directly pop it as an answer and still widen our board. Next up, our first 3-cost character is OP09 Blocker Karasu. This card is some sort of difficult. You do have to know when it's useful to play him. In some matchups it's rather a waste of your Don. For example, in most black matchup, because the 3-cost is very easily to remove and we don't get the value out of him. But in combination with 6-cost Koala or 5-cost Ivankov, this can be a very good combination to slow your opponent down. And in combination with our leader effect, this gets to 7k power and is a good swinger as well. Only problem I have with this card is the trigger. I don't like this trigger stipulation, especially since it happens rather often that you get him out of your first life and you cannot play him, which is very unfortunate. Next up are 2 Inazumas. If this character sees another character with 10,000 power or more on the field, it gains Rush. This is very good because other than the 1-cost Apu, for example, from OP10, these do see each other, because that means we can play these for 3, for 6, leader effect, bring both to 7 and both get Rush. So this can help to finish matches. I actually run it on 3 for most of the time, but I needed to make some space for other cards and I found this to be the most situational card in the list. Next up is the backbone of the deck, perhaps probably the most important card, the 4-cost Ivankov. Activate main. If this character has 7,000 power or more, we can play a revolutionary army type with 5,000 power or less other than Ivankov from our hand. So we basically use this to play out the Lindbergh, play out the Karasu, but we can also use it to play the Kuma, for example, on 6, play Ivankov, give him 2 Dawn, play the Inazuma, and go from there on. Very, very important card. And as I said, most commonly you play 1-drop, go directly into Ivankov, play Karasu, and then you have about 2 or 3 5k swings on a 4k leader to pressure the opponent early on. Next up we have 4-cost Karasu. Many say this is the strongest card in the deck. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters or leaders minus 1000 power for this turn. When attacking, if this character has 7000 power or more, do the same thing. This is very good in combination with the Ivankov. It will apply a lot of pressure, for example against Shanks. You actually need to see this card so he doesn't get to use his leader effect for free, get out of attacks. We have to make him use his hand cards, or else we face severe problems. Next up, our board control machine is good old Lindbergh. We run him at 4 copies. Very good card, especially if he triggers, but also in some matchup we rather want to play the Lindbergh than the Karasu. For example, for the Purple Luffy matchup, we want to play the Lindbergh on 4, so we can deal with cards like Zorjuro, Sangoro, or maybe some blockers that were established, because the Purple Luffy deck almost runs only 2Ks, at least it feels like it, so he will give us a 2K nonetheless, even if we use Karasu or not, and therefore it's, in my opinion, smarter to establish the Lindbergh instead. Then, the only addition from EB02 is the new 4-cost Sabo. 4 cost, 5000 power, 2K counter. So we stocked up on that, and the effect is a bit underrated, I think. Activate main, we can rest this character and give another Revolutionary Army type character plus 2000 power. This is usable in some sort of chains. For example, if we have Koala on the field, we have Ivankov on the field. Sometimes it's smarter to not use the leader effect in this scenario. We can give 2 Don to the Ivankov, play Sabo from the Ivankov, rest Sabo to give the Koala plus 2000, so we get 3 attacks with our leader swing and didn't have to use a hand card. This is important because this list runs rather much non-revolutionary army type cards. There's a total of 7 cards in this deck that I cannot discard for the leader effect, and therefore it's nice to have another option to boost your characters. Next up are 3 copies of 5-cost Ivankov. This and the 6-cost Koala are different ways to swarm our board, and we have to make sure to use them correctly. If 6 Don and we have both the 6-cost Koala and the 5-cost Ivankov in hand, they on the surface serve the same purpose, but they play out very differently. If we have a character in our hand that we actually really want to play, it's rather the play to go for the 6-cost Koala, because we have more control over what we want to play. But sometimes we have cards like Koala in hand, the Sabo in hand, that we want to keep as a 2K. Then it's way smarter to play the Ivankov, look into the top 3 cards, and play 1 Revo army type with 5000 power or less. And we do not actually have to play from our hand if we want to keep the cards. Also, we have to keep in mind that for the 6-cost Koala we have to stabilize the game, either in our life or on the board, because in some instances playing the 6-cost Koala could mean to instantly lose. Again, example, the Purple Luffy matchup, we play 6-cost Koala, we take our life and it get rested. With the 7-cost Sanji, we basically got no actual value of the Koala. We even helped our opponent. Same case with Hoji Jones, for example. But before we go into the koala, we have another 2K. It's the promo 5-cost Sabo. I currently run 3 copies of him, so we have a total of 10 2Ks, which feels pretty good compared to the OP9 meta. But this card also serves another purpose. But first, the effect activate main, we can add the top or bottom card of the life to our hand. Then this character gets plus 1000. And this is very good against decks that want to starve us. It gives us another card in hand. And, which is very important, it can be played off both the Ivankov, because it has only 5000 power, but it is a 5-cost. And the 5-cost spot is pretty important in this meta, because this is the threshold where black decks, for example, need to invest more cards to KO the Sabo in most instances. And this can not be so easily rested by many cards. And therefore this is quite an option as well. And as you will see later on, this also could enable a finishing card. Next up, we already talked about her, is 6-cost Koala. This is a very, very good card. Blocker on play. Add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand. Then play a Revo type card with a cost of 4 or less. And then draw 1 card. So we can go against opponents that want to starve us. We can go white on the board. And for very important, you can play a card that you took from life. That's very important to know. You don't have to have the card in your hand at the moment if you are pretty confident that there should be some useful cards in your life. Maybe because the opponent placed it there, for example, with the 9-cost Lin or the Kuzan from OP09. You can take it back and play it. But as I said, you have to keep in mind that if this koala gets rested, you go down a life, you go down a blocker, which could be very problematic. Of course, the ideal combination to play is 6-cost koala into 4-cost Ivankov, and with leader effect into Karasu or Lindbergh, or maybe the Inazuma. Or sometimes you actually want to play something like Koala into Kuma to get rid of a low power blocker and apply pressure. So very good card, but you have to keep in mind when it's useful to play it and when not. The last 2 cards are tech cards. The first one is my finishing card. This is Gold Roger, which is a very underestimated card in this deck, because more often than not we will find ourselves in a position where we do have a good board, but we actually know we cannot go for game because of the overwhelming amount of blockers, and therefore we can use the Gold Roger. We can still give up to 9k of power from our leader effect and use this. And the last tech card I actually play is the mobile pistol, which can be used to destroy characters if we have a known character with 6000 power or more, which works with Ivankov, which works with Koala, but it also works after using our leader effect. That means we can, for example, play Koala, give a character of our opponent minus 3000 power, use leader effect, then she has 6000, and then we can play the mole gun, give another minus 5000, and if the opponent's character then has 2000 power or less, we can destroy it, which is a very neat combination. And this card especially helps in a lot of green matchups, because this threshold fits for the very important 5-cost slot of most green decks. For example, Carrot, Cavendish, Smoker, and therefore I actually like this card because it can take a lot of tempo from your opponent, even without establishing bodies on our own. But for example, in the Bonnie matchup, if you KO the Cavendish, you take so much tempo from him, especially if the opponent wants to follow up with the 8-cost kit, because the combination mainly is play kit, attack with Cavendish, get the Dawn back. So we actually delay the play of the kit for one more turn, which can be crucial in many cases. So this is the deck list I played in the Treasure Cup. I used most of the cards. One card I did not see very often was the Karasu. I think I only saw it in the last game, but despite that, it worked very well. And my matchups were Vegapunk in round 1, which was a bit of a grindy game. Against Vegapunk, you have to know that you don't actually want to go for life. You want to go for board as often as possible. You want to grind out the resources, because Vegapunk tends to go down in hand very, very fast. And if he does, we can just go through. A nice setup is to have the Lindbergh and a Koala or Race Mix in hand, so we can directly answer cards from the trigger. For example, the Chaka, we go in with the leader. For example, for 7, he triggered the Chaka. We can then play the Koala, minus 3000, the Chaka, and KO it with Lindbergh. And yeah, this was an okay match. I think I played pretty good and won it. Next up was a match against Kagara, which was pretty intense, to be honest. My opponent misplayed on the last turn. He decided to go for game instead of going for board for one more turn, which opened up my way to victory. There we also went for board a lot, because Kagara takes his own life. We don't have to actually pressure his life. If he wants to swarm the board, he has to take his own life. We can take resources off of him while going for board and prepare for the last finishing blow. Next up was a match against a good friend of mine. He played Yellow Kid, which is a very hard matchup most of the time, but he was pretty bricked, so we kind of dismantled him and went through pretty easily. I think I won on my 7 Dawn turn, because I hit the Kuma of trigger. I had a lot of low cost bodies, so I could go very aggressively. Main thing is, sometimes it's smarter to wait out the Hawkins turn. For example, if you have to go first and the opponent plays Hawkins on 4, activates leader effect and makes him a blocker. In this case, you maybe should not attack. So on 6, he either has to play Damn Punk or Viola to turn his life upside down so he can use leader effect again. So sometimes it's smarter to just wait out this turn, go wide on your board, place your bodies, maybe a Lindbergh to remove additional blockers that could be played, and go in the turn after. And in the last match I played against Shanks, which also can be a tricky matchup, but it's very helpful to go second, because you can put a lot of pressure on him in the early turns, so he doesn't get this many cards in hand, and we were once again a little bit of lucky because there were 3 big drops in his life, so he didn't get any counter. We misplayed a bit in the early turns where I decided to change my sequence midway. Therefore I gave him a free leader effect on my own leader swing, but in the end we managed to go through because we played 5 Kostivankov into Betty, I think it was, and afterwards 5 Kostivankov into the Sabo, and we also triggered a Lindbergh mid-game, which also helped a lot. So as you can see, there were quite some interesting matchups. Not all of them were favorable for Betty, but we managed to make it through. We won this beautiful Charlotte pudding card, which I'm kind of proud of. And now, alright, first up we have Green Purple Luffy, which basically is the deck at the moment. No 1-drops, so we will mulligan this. This looks way better. Yeah, Green Purple Luffy, probably the strongest deck in the EB02 meta. Pretty expensive, so we did not have it out. Our store treasure cup goes looking for a giant directly, and we find another searcher. This is the ideal start. We will go for the Sabo, so we have another 2k because our hand is pretty bricky, and we will go for Karasu, so we can give a lot of pressure next turn. What we have to keep in mind is if our opponent plays the blocker chopper, that we will leave it for a turn, so we cannot utilize his leader effect, and we can go wide on our board. 5 on lead, we will always take that. We use the trigger, and now he is under so much pressure that it will be hard to recover from it. We will start with the Karasu. We will trash one of the race mags for leader effect, and then we go 4 times. And since the deck can be very bricky, I think we will take at least 2 lives out of him. But maybe I'm wrong, he gives us a lot of counter. But I think he needs to have the options here. 2 lives, as I said. So basically we can try next turn to find Inazuma maybe from either the Betty or the Ivankov and go hard face. Let's see. Goes for another 2k. Perhaps another 2k. Goes for the Sorajuro. Okay, so we know he has a 2k. We know he has a giant. But I think we are in a fine situation. Yeah, he concedes. There was not much he could have done. We would have gone for the Betty, have gone for the Ivankov, and put a lot of pressure on him. Next up is Green Yellow Arlong. Although Arlong loves to go first, we will keep going second, because we have to make sure that we can pressure him, not with this hand. This hand is much better, because we can establish the Lindbergh on 4. Let's see. No, and we find double searcher again, basically saying that we have everything we need. Now I have to think if I want to go Ivankov into Lindbergh next turn or Koala into Kuma, but I think Koala into Kuma is the better play because we get immediate value. Maybe we find another Kuma, we find another Sabo. I think we will go for the 2k. Let's see, he will activate leader effect. Let's see what he plays. That's very good because we can KO it with the combination we had in mind. We take this, we get Koala, and then we just play our thing. I think we will start by using the leader effect. We'll trash this Koala because we rather want to have the counter power. We attack here in this case at first because we want to see if there are more triggers we would rather like to react on than this S-Hawk. So let's see what he does. Gives us a 2k. That's a very good sign. Gives us the Nami, which is pretty good. And gives us even more counter. Okay, now we can punish him. Meaning he lost 3 cards from hand and basically all his tempo. Because right now he has to go for one of my Bettys, he cannot go into life. We will be able to use the mulligan if it's not a Kiko Nojo. We usually do not want to touch this. 9 to lead. Okay, let's see what he plays. Okay, on play will not become active. Okay, this takes an attack away as well. We will take this. We find Ivankov, which is pretty good. But again, we will go for the attacks first next turn. So we will trash the Ivankov because our board is full at the moment. We have to make sure we will have a 6 cost body on the field. So we can use the mulligan to its full extent. Triggered something, maybe. Okay, rests 1 character. That's okay for us, meaning he won't have the counter for this as well. Probably another counter, another trigger, but let's see. Still thinking. I'm not sure what this could be, because most of the cards are pretty obvious. You want to play them. Maybe a gang badge, a Nami. Okay, so he wants to draw into another card, which is fine for us. Now we have to make sure we have a 6k body as well, so we can use the mulligan to KO Lord of the Coast. And now we have to actually be smart. We don't want to attack into his life because some triggers could punish us, so we will just pass the turn, see what he brings to the table, because with the right trigger we could basically lose the game next turn if he plays out the EB02 buggy, because this would give Arlong double attack. So I think he has to go for board now, maybe freeze something. Goes for life again, maybe another Lord of the Coast. Okay, just a vanilla body. Okay, I think that's pretty much GG. We will go aggressively for life with 777. But we will keep the option to play a blocker if we actually need to. So, draws a card, okay. Yeah, and that's pretty much game. Alright. He has to KO the Kuma here. Maybe draw into 2k. But even though we have a total of 6-7 counters, so I think we would survive the next round nonetheless, but I actually doubt he has this. And that's GG. We even had the Karasu in live, so I am pretty confident that we would have got this anyways. GG. And our last match for today is against Black Purple Luffy, which will get interesting support in the next match, in the new starter decks with the, I think it's a 6-cost Luffy. This is pretty obvious. We want to play the Searcher. We will go for the rush Inazuma because we want to rush him down before he gets into his big bodies. We will play this, and then we already are prepared for Koala into Kuma to deal with the Zoro. He will go probably 7 to life. Does not swing at all. Very interesting. We will trash the Lindbug this time. I don't think we will actually have a good opportunity to play him. Go 5-5-5 and then KO the Zoro. Already down 2 life, which will hurt him if he loses his tempo. This probably is a turn most opponents do not expect. We will counter out of this, so we have the maximum pressure next turn. Goes for the Zoro. We can deal with that. We find this Kuma to directly answer his law, and then we will go 5-5-6, which will basically take a lot of cards out of his hand or set him up for a lose. He's on 8. Maybe play some blockers now because he needs something. Goes for the ramp again. 3-6-7. He gets the Betty. He gets the Kuma. Then play another one. We will have 7, 8, which probably should be enough, I guess. So we will go for that. We will start first with the Inazuma, because if the Kuma would be KO'd by any sort of trigger, we would actually lose the rush. We stick to the plan, 7-7-8. Maybe he gets 2 2Ks, then we will see what happens. He does have it, is on 9, and he concedes. Yeah, he did not pull anything helpful, no blockers, so we pressured him down. We were way too fast, and as I hope you saw, this Betty-List is very aggressive, but you still have to know when to go for board, when to go for life, and especially when to go for game, because you want to avoid a clapback that kills you instantly. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.